Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing and telling you about this Volkswagen Beetle seat. We're going to be taking the backrest, this bit, off the seat, and we're going to be taking the fabric off that hopefully. So first I'm going to show you the seat, and we're going to take the top of the seat off. So here's the Volkswagen seat that I am going to be reupholstering. If you look at my Instagram at Upholstery Auto Upholstery, there is the progress of the passenger side Beetle seat. This is the driver's side. And yeah, there's a huge rip there. Piping's coming off. Now the base of the seat is held together with gaffer tape with various rips here. So I'm going to be just reupholstering the whole thing, making it look nice and pretty. First things first, we need to undo these bolts here. There's one at the other side as well. So yeah, I'm gonna do that first. So this backrest is held together, held to the actual seat base with a little nut thing here. It's a 30mm one. I'm using my Draper Expert spanner. It's gonna undo that, and then it should come off in theory. So I'm going to undo that off camera and get the top of the seat off camera, because it is a two-man job. It's a two-man job is that, and my assistant does not want to be filmed, so I'm going to get that done and then film taking this fabric off. So this is what the front seat, the backrest looks like once I've taken the top part off the bottom part. So as you can see, the backrest is held by these like little spiky things. So I'm just gonna undo them. I'm not quite sure what's happening there. We're gonna have to investigate that. So once we've got that done, well, them bits taken, them bits, what's the word? Unfolded. Once we've got them unfolded, we can then start undoing these seams here, where the piping is sewed to this basket weave and the plain vinyl. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to get these little pliers and just unfold these little spiky tabs, which did unfortunately scratch me when I was putting the fabric on the other VW Beetle front seat. So hopefully they shouldn't scratch me. Hopefully. If you're undoing these little spiky things, these little electrical pliers for like snipping wires, they're also super duper handy because you can just get them in to all the really tight spots and unfold things. We'll skip that middle one for now. See if I can undo things. Not quite sure what's going on with that middle one. Looks like it's sort of snapped. Anyway, we shall investigate. Definitely something that's investigating. So I'm just putting my bigger pliers just behind the spiky bit and just unfolding it so it's straight-ish. Just so it looks, fairly straight, like that. Just so you can easily take the fabric off. I say easily. So you can take the fabric off it. Right. That middle one's still causing some problems. I will investigate that off camera, see if I can get it undone off camera, then I will film the next bit. Right, as it turned out, that little hook just there, don't know if the camera's focusing, just there, had actually snapped, and the wire, this wire here, had actually got just caught around the remnants of the hook. So I just got my little staple remover item and I just unhooked the wire from that piece of the remnant of the hook. So now we've got the bottom of the seat sort of free. We got the bottom of this seat backrest sort of free. We can undo these seams here just to get the rest of the seat apart, and we pull this bottom section, we'd pull that off the hooks as well. It should just come off with a bit of a pull like that. And underneath you can see the horsehair that most Volkswagen seats are made out of, most early ones anyway. There should be horsehair and some little pieces of like soft fabric either side of the horsehair. So I'm just gonna go ahead and undo these seams here, these side seams. For that, I'm gonna use my little clippers here. So you just wanna grab this rubber piping. It is quite a long process, so I'll probably film the beginning of it, show you what that looks like, and then just film the end of it. Because sometimes things don't behave the way you want them to. Sometimes you can just run the snippers right along the seam and it undoes. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes the snippers go into your finger. And I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to see my fingers get chopped off or fingers get cut. So I'm just going to film the start of it. And then film the end of it. Because, yeah, like I said, I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to see my fingers get injured. So this is what it looks like when you start cutting away this seam. Just put your snippers in there. You could also use a craft knife for this bit. I find it easy to use these. You can use a craft knife. I've seen upholstery shops do that seam with a craft knife or a pen knife. But I just find it easier with the snippers, because these things are incredibly sharp and you can sort of control where they go a bit better than a craft knife. So I'm also going to show you guys how you just run along the seams with a pen knife. I've got this one, doesn't have to be this one, you can use a craft knife. So you just find where the stitches are. It's essential that you cut the stitches and not the fabric, because you're going to want to save the fabric to make a pattern. So you just find where the stitches are and just run your hopefully sharp knife down there. But like I said, doing this is a little bit more risky because you can sometimes hit fabric and not stitches. But it can be a lot easier than using snippers. But yeah, knives can also get blunter than snippers. But yeah, we just want these side panels off the base of the front of the seat. We want the front and back in one piece and the sides in two separate pieces. So I'm midway through just cutting the fabric. Sorry about the noise. I'm just midway through cutting the fabric off the seat. This is what it looks like. This is the front of the seat. That is the back of the seat cover. These are the sides. So once you've got the fabric off, you should see a little bit of sponge at the top, a little foam. Just some, pieces of fabric here, and all this is horsehair, just to keep the seat together. It's a little bit more comfortable to rest your back on than springs. So I'm going to go ahead and finish taking the side panels off the fabric, and I'm going to show you how to take off undo the other seams. So I've just got these side panels off the Beetle seat. So that's what they look like. That's obviously for one side and that's for the other. You'll notice that they are ever so slightly curved. That is to match the curve of the Beetle seat here. If they were just square, then obviously it wouldn't line up properly. And this is the original factory piping. which is interesting. It's actually rubber all the way down here. It's like a plasticky rubber material. And it's all sort of bonded together. I just thought you might find that quite interesting. So I'm going to take off this piping, throw that all away. Don't need that. That can't be reused as it's got a load of holes in it. And with age, piping does kind of get very, very brittle. Like as you can see here, this bit can, come off. If I pull that, it'll just pull away from there. So I obviously can't reuse that, so I'll throw all of this piping away. And then I will show you how to take these bits, separate them bits, and separate these bits. And anything you should be watching out for if you're doing your own seat. Right, so now I'm going to show you how to take these two pieces apart. Again, you just want your little thread snippers. If you don't have those, you could use a craft knife. But do be careful if you're using a knife to undo seams, because in several places on this seat, I've sort of sliced the fabric as I've been slicing the seam. So be super careful if you're using a knife, particularly one like this. Also, you don't want to slice your finger. That's very bad if you slice your finger. You don't want to do that. So I'm just going to snip this seam. Also on beetle seats, on the underside of this seam, the two pieces of fabric have been folded open like that. That makes for a very, very weak seam because well, essentially you can just run a blade down there and the seam's undone, which, is very easy to undo like that. Very easy to undo. So when I sew these two pieces back together in my chosen fabrics, I'm going to make that into a backed French seam. I know that sounds incredibly complicated. Trust me, it's not. It's quite easy. So, just to give it a little bit more strength and just to reinforce it a little bit. Now, you don't want your completed seat and then some idiot come along with a knife and just slice your seat open. It's not a very nice thing to do, and it will basically ruin your seat. So, I'm just going to reinforce that when I sew it back together. So that bit should be, the beginning and end of these seams can be a little bit tricky because sometimes the machinist who's sewn it in the factory, as you can see here, there's like 2 or 3 layers of stitching. They've done what they call a back tack, which is when you sew on a machine and then you press a button or a pedal or push a flap down and your machine goes backwards, and then you can sew forwards again. So it just reinforces the ends of the seams and just, it stops the whole thing coming undone when you do anything with it. But it is a pain to undo. So it's coming undone slowly. In case you're wondering why my head is sometimes not in the shot, I don't actually have a tripod or anything to put my phone on as I'm filming this. So it's on a box file and the How to Keep Your Volkswagen Alive book. I'm using those as a phone stand. Super professional, I know. But yeah. These two pieces have come apart now. And in the bottom of this piece, which is the back of the chair, there is a little bit of wire here. We're going to have to take that thing out because we need that on the new piece, the new chair. So you just need to undo that seam, or part of it, and push out the wire. I'm going to do that off camera because you've seen me undo a seam. You know how long it takes. It's going to take a while. So Right, so I've only had to undo part of this seam, which is incredibly handy, and then I can just pull the wire out, which is not very straight. So this is what the inside of the panel, this panel looks like. That is foam here, and that's just a fabric backing on it. If you look there, that is where the fabric has been sort of welded to this bit, just to give you these nice lines here. I'm not going to do that on my seat. I'm going to just sew these lines in a contrasting thread, because I think it looks really pretty in like a contrasting colour as opposed to just black. There's everything that makes up the back rest of the Beetle front seat. There really isn't a lot of, complicated sewing and a lot of components here. This is the bottom piece that attaches to the spiky bits on the frame. That's a side panel. Those are the two pieces of wire stopping the fabric from ripping when it's on the frame. That's the front bit. These little bolts, little nuts, things holding the backrest frame onto the bottom seat frame. And that is the back of the backrest, and that's another side panel. So yeah, in my next video I should be telling you how to copy these pieces of fabric, copy the pattern onto your own pieces of fabric, so then you can reupholster your own seat.